the first problem that we are going to work on is we are going to go up to, we're going to actually start with, you don't need to open it. Actually, we're just going to, I'm just going to do them all right up here for you. So I just wanted to briefly talk through what it was like when you were doing them. So a couple of things I noticed when I was looking at our assignments and our practices yesterday was that we had a little bit of trouble figuring out when do we move the decimal to the right and when do we move the decimal to the left. Okay, so we know when to move these things. We know when to move our decimals to the right or to the left depending on which direction we're moving in our prefixes. Are we making our number smaller or are we making our number bigger? So when I put the prefixes on my board, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk, so kilo, hecto, deca, base, deci, centi, milli. When I put them on my board, I made a lot of arrows yesterday, right? So if I'm doing this conversion, 311 meters, and I want to know how many kilometers that is, I'm going to find my starting unit. My starting unit is meters, and that I know is my base unit. So I have my starting unit. Then I'm going to look for my ending unit, kilometers, okay? And that's where my K is, kilometers. And then I know, so I'm going from base 2 kilometers. So I can put a little arrow down here that says that's the direction I'm going. So if you're doing the decimal method, then your decimal should be moving towards the left. Okay, you shouldn't be moving it towards the right. You're moving it towards the left. So I'm going to take my decimal and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 places. In my number 311, I don't see a decimal, but I know that there is technically a decimal right there at the end. So I can take that decimal and I can move it 1, 2, 3 to the left. Now if I wanted to do my multiplying dividing method, then I would take my number and I would divide it by 10 3 times. So for each of these jumps, that is the number of times I'm going to divide my number by 10. So 311 divided by 10 is 31.1, and then 31.1 divided by 10 gives me 311. 3 divided by 10 gives me 0.311. Okay, so both of my methods. If you didn't notice the pattern, remember that there's that pattern that we can see here, right? So we see that this decimal is just moving over 1, and then it's moving over 1 more, and then it's moving over 1 more. So we see that decimal, that pattern of the decimal. Okay? All right, we're going to do another practice problem. The next one we have is 14 liters is equal to how many milliliters? How many milliliters? Does anybody want to walk me through how they might complete this problem? Sure. I'm not going to, who is that raising their hand? Okay, if you're ready, oh, well, now I see 2 people raising their hand. Hold on. So liters is our base, and milli is at the end because it's milli. So I'm going to put this out on my board, KHDVD. So I'm starting at my base, and I'm going to my milli, and I'm going to move my decimal 3 times to the right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to take my 14 and move that decimal. 1, 2, 3. Do y'all agree? Okay, let's do another one. I'm going to change to a different color. 6.8 kilograms is equal to how many milligrams? I'm going to write King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Kilo, hecta, deca, base, deci, centi, milli. And okay, so am I dividing or multiplying? Because look which direction am I going? I have kilos and I'm going to milli. So I'm going to multiply, right? So I'm going in this direction. So I'm going to multiply, right? My number is getting bigger because I'm going from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. So my number needs to get bigger. So because I'm going in this direction, my decimal is going to move in this direction too. And you found the number 6 by doing what? By making how many hops? 4, 6. Right? So you made those hops, and that's how you knew that you were going to multiply it by 6. You're going to multiply each number 10. You're going to multiply it by 6 10 times, right? All right, so if I do that, then I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? If I do it by multiplying it by 10, 6 times, 6.8 times 10 gives me 68. 68 times 10, 680. 680 times 10, 6,800. 6,800 times 10. How many times? 6 times am I doing it? Yes, that's exactly it. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. You got it. Okay, do we get the same answer? Looks the same to me. Okay, so we can do either strategy. Either strategy is going to work for us. Do you want to do another practice? One more example? All right, let's go. I'm going to go from 1.4 milliliters equals how many liters? 1.4 milliliters equals how many liters? All right, anybody want to explain this one? Yes, absolutely. I would love that. Okay, so I'm going to start with my unit. What unit am I starting with? I'm starting with milliliters, right? I need to find that unit. And then I'm going to find my ending unit. My ending unit is liters. Liters is here at my base. So I know that I'm going to move 1, 2, 3 times, okay? I can move my decimal 3 times to get to my base. So I can go 1.4 and I can move it 1, 2, 3 times. Or I can divide it by 10 3 times. Okay? Or I can divide by 10 3 times, and I'm going to get the same number. Okay, give me a thumbs up if that's making sense. If you're feeling ready. Okay, what we are going to do is you are going to actually do some practice with this today. Okay, I'm going to show you what that looks like. Whoops. So, the first thing you are going to do is you're going to look at this chart here. So you are going to complete this chart. As you can see, in the middle is our base units, and then to the left we have deca, hecto, kilo, and then we have deci, centi, milli. So we have as they go larger, and then as they get smaller. Okay, so we are going to convert numbers into each of the columns. So if you see here, I have 290. Let's call it meters. Okay, we're gonna do meters. If I have 290 meters, that's the same thing as having 29 decameters. And also the same thing as having 2.9 hectometers. And also the same thing as having 0.29 kilometers. Okay, which is also equal to 2,900 decimeters, 29,000 centimeters, and 290,000 millimeters. Okay, so you're going to do that across the board on all of them. So you just have to find the unit that you want to start with, and then you're going to convert to the left to make it bigger. To the left to go to a bigger unit, or to the right to go to a smaller unit. Okay, you're going to do that whole first page. Then on the second page here, you're just going to, you're going to do some conversions. Okay, you are going to convert here your units from the unit on the left to the unit on the right here. So if it says 38 millimeters, then you're going to convert to centimeters and then convert that to meters. Okay, so if you look at the example, the first one was 35 meters, and I wanted to know how many centimeters that was. And then I wanted to know how many millimeters that was. So I converted the units across the columns. On the last page here, I want you to try your very best. You are going to try to find like units and then combine them. So if you look at number 11, you will see that there are there's 7 meters and 45 centimeters. So the first thing I did is I converted my 7 meters to centimeters to get 700 centimeters, and then I added that with my centimeters to get 745 centimeters total, and then I converted it to millimeters. The last thing I want to just talk about briefly before I send you off is I just want you to notice here with the decimals, when we move that decimal, our number then changes. So you need to make sure that when you start swiping that decimal to the left and to the right, that now, see how I look how my number, I moved my decimal, and this is how I now write my number. So I write my number with my decimal on the end, not all the way, oh, you can't really see it too good, sorry. Not all the way, not a decimal here and here where it originally was, okay? So you moved your original decimal. The other thing I want to just look at is I want you to look here and notice what kind of patterns you see as we look through this, about as far as like what numbers are changing, what numbers are we adding? Okay, what do you notice? Okay, so our main number is going to stay the same. It always will stay the same. We're just going to add zeros either to the front or to the end, and depending on where our decimal is. If I have 311 meters, there will never be a 2 or a 4 or a 7 or anything in that number when I do conversions in the metric system, because we are working in powers of 10. So we are only ever going to add and subtract zeros. Okay, there will never be any additional numbers added to this until you get to this third page here when you start adding like units. Okay, but on the first 2 pages, the only numbers that you should be using in addition to the numbers that are already there are zeros. Okay?